Okay. Hi, and good evening, and welcome to Now That I Look in the top left-hand corner, episode 9 of Shelf Analysis. This is, in case this is the first one that you've managed to watch, a few weeks ago when all of this started, the thing we still have not given a name to, when it all started, I decided that for everybody who's going to be stuck at home, who are members of the book club and people maybe who love their books and wouldn't really get a chance to talk to their friends or to their book clubs in a way that they would normally do, and for authors as well who maybe won't have the chance to talk to people who are readers, people who they won't get a chance to do readings. A lot of launches were cancelled. I foolishly thought, and weirdly, when I was looking at chat shows like the Late Late Show, doing interviews by Skype, I thought, well, if they can do it, I mean, if I can do it from my room, then so can I. So welcome to what is now episode 9. I hadn't planned this far down the line, and it's brilliant to see both so many people saying lovely things about the program. Thank you very much. Those who have come along just to have a bit of a scope out of my sitting room. You know yourself. What I love is that by the time we get around to Wednesday night's episode, I think I'm going to be able to do this with natural sunlight. I think I'm not going to need a light on anymore, which is beautiful. You'll be able to find all the rest of the episodes over in the announcements tab if you go click over there. Of course, if you're watching this on RTE Culture and you're not a member of the Ricochet Book Club, hello, why aren't you? You should. It's a good idea. You can find the link at the bottom. But all of the other episodes of Shelf Analysis, they are usually archived as well. You can find them here on RTE Culture as well. We've done interview guests, of course, in Ireland. We have done an interview guest in Belfast. We've done one in Brighton in the UK. Tonight is the first time that we take the show into a different time zone because our guest tonight is in New York. What I love is that I've spent a little while teasing this, and nobody has managed to guess correctly as to who tonight's guest is, despite the fact that her book is one of the most talked about books in the Ricochet Book Club in the last 4 months. Love it when I've managed to pull one past you. Couple of things I want to deal with. Firstly, we are 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. From now on, we're going to start doing it at 7 o'clock instead of 8. Primary reason is tiredness, because by the time we finish up doing this and then it's 8:30, and then by the time you have dinner and you slop yourself in front of the TV, and then I'm back out to work tomorrow morning. If I can get an extra hour in there, that'll be amazing. So from now on, all of the episodes will be live here in the book club at 7 p.m. So that's starting on Wednesday night, with Wednesday and Thursdays ones this week. So just have a look. The details are at the top of the book club you'll find here as well. A couple of things I wanted to mention, one of which is announcements keep happening over the course of time. Things are being cancelled. Things are being put back together as well in unusual and different ways. And I'm kind of thrilled that I'm part of this one here. Have a look. Cuairteach, as you probably know, happens every year in Galway. This year was the first year that I was due to be actually presenting some of the events there and doing some of the interviews. And of course, the real physical festival, unfortunately, has had to be cancelled the way of many. However, the Cuairteach Digital Literature Festival was announced today. It is still happening, 23rd to the 25th of April. It's all happening online. The best possible news is that it's all free. So I've got another tab up here just to give you an idea of who has been salvaged from the original festival. There will be online events with, and I'm just skimming the top here, with Mary Costello and Alan McMonigal, with Emer McBride, Sarah Baum, Sinead Gleeson, Elaine Feeney, Lisa McInerney. You'll also find Rob Doyle, Kevin Barry, Jan Carson, loads of people. I'm doing an event on Friday, April 24th. I will be talking to Anne Enright. My first proper one-on-one interview with Anne Enright. It's going to be on the internet. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about her new and brilliant book, Actress, as well as a whole bunch of other things. It is free. Go and have a look at cuairteach.ie. That's Cuirt. Cuairteach.ie is where you'll find the details about the virtual festival that Cuairteach have put together. Congratulations to everybody involved, and fair play to them, because they've managed to take a festival that now can't happen in the real world, and instead they've managed to make it free for you and make it happen online. Apologies, my Wi-Fi seems a bit dodged tonight. Everybody around me is obviously gaming, and we're just going to have to get through that and move on. My book tonight that I want to recommend to you, and I know this has gotten a couple of shout-outs in here so far. However, I finished this at the weekend. You might know I was going through some sort of... I was having a problem concentrating for long periods of time reading. I talked about it, and loads of people then talked to me about it, about how they were going through the same problems. People who would normally be voracious readers were finding it problematic. So I started this the weekend at the recommendation of Liz. And It is extraordinary. The book is Kim Ji-young, born 1982. It is by Cho Nam-ju. It is 162, I think, 162 and a half pages long. It is the story of one woman's life. She was born in 1982. It is the story of her growing up, going to school, going to university, getting a job, getting married, and having children. However, it is much more than that, and it is mostly about the institutionalized misogyny that exists not only in the world of South Korea, not North Korea, as many people have been asking me. I mentioned that it was a book about Korea the other day. Many people presumed that I was talking about north of the border. I'm talking about South Korea. It is mainly a book about the institutionalized misogyny that exists in Korean society still to this day, and it's quite universal when it comes to the rest of the world. It is a very, very simple, wonderful, beautiful read. One more time, the book is called Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Cho Nam-ju. That comes as highly recommended as I can recommend anything. Okay, before we get to our guest tonight, let us see what Karina, the houseplant, is reading tonight. This is your first time watching the show, just run with it, because it's just don't ask awkward questions, okay? Karina normally is reading something really interesting. Where are you? Karina, hi, how are you? Okay, you're good. Just wiggle your, yeah, that'll do, that's fine. Have somebody blow on your leaves. It's fine. Karina reads a brand new book every night, and it's a recommendation for you as well. Jeanine Cummins on Shaw. Fantastic. I happen to know that Karina is reading this because there is, and if you haven't seen this as of yet so far, I'm going to stick this up here. Thank you, Karina. Karina, I'm just removing you just temporarily, just you kind of stay where we are. This is the Read Irish Women Challenge 2020. This happens every year. And make sure you check out Buccaneer808 on Instagram or Jabberwocky888 on Twitter. This is the fourth year that they've organized this challenge. The idea being, have a look every day of the month and promote, if you can, a book that you have read that belongs in one of these categories. So has to be by an Irish woman, a book that made you lol on the first, book about friendship for the second, new and due book releases for the third, today being the sixth. It was a book by an Irish woman of colour, ethnic minority, New Irish or diaspora, and that's why we had Una's book Unshaw, which is there. Have a look at the rest of them. Karina, of course, being a female plant, will be in the process of making sure that she is recommending books that come from this list throughout the course of the rest of the month as well. Hugely worth your time, and it's always a really rewarding thing to do every year. And even if it means you only read 3 or 4 or 5 more of these books across the course of the year, it's well worth your time. Now, our guest tonight on the program. I do love genuinely that nobody has managed to guess who it is that we have on. Her book is one of the most talked about ones in the Ricochet Book Club. All you have to do is just put it in as a search. So many people have read it since the book came out a couple of months ago. I'm not only thrilled that she's agreed to do a chat on the show tonight, but that she's doing it from what appears to be the outside of her house, sitting somewhere. Welcome, Jeanine Cummins. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
You're obviously fantastic, because I'm looking. Obviously, you're 5 hours behind us, so it's
Yes.
just gone 10 past 3 where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about where you are. Firstly,
Well, I'm on my back deck. I am a few miles north of Manhattan. We live in the lower Hudson River Valley, so I am looking over the Hudson River right now, and I can see a bald eagle's nest from my back deck. So it's a nice spot to be isolated and quarantined.
because for a lot of people, and certainly whenever we read anything about what's going on in the US at the moment with regards to COVID-19, there's a lot of talk about New York. It's mostly all based in and around the 5 boroughs. It's based around there. You're obviously slightly further outside the city where you are.
Very slightly. I mean, my husband works in the city. We're in and out all the time. We can actually see Manhattan from here as well. But
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, so we're right in the thick of it. But so far, so good. Knock on wood. So.
And explain to me. That's the same question I ask everybody every night on the program: is what have the last 2-3 weeks been like for you? In terms of just trying to get through day to day, and in terms of having to deal with your family and trying to write as well at the same time.
Oh, I totally gave up on writing quite a few weeks ago. I am having a cocktail now at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, fantastic. Well, if we're into that, then that's fine with me.
Yeah, you may notice that my wine glass says "because kids," which like 3.5 weeks ago seemed a little mean spirited, but now it's just real. Um, It's good. We're doing well. I'm lucky to have a family that I like. I'm lucky to have a husband who I like, and so we are not murdering each other. But we have the same challenges that everybody has right now. It's a lot that we are all sharing our space 24 hours a day. I am quite used to having it to myself. This is, I have a life as a writer where I really rely on a lot of solitude, and that is completely gone now. I'm like a full time teacher, chef, house cleaner, dog walker, and very occasional writer. So this is a very exciting moment for me. It's the first time I put on mascara in 3.5 weeks. So happy to be here.
I don't know if you guys are doing this. We did a conversation. Liz and I hung around with a couple of our friends on Saturday night, and for her as well, despite the fact that she's working from home, I think it was the first time she had makeup on in about 2.5 weeks as well,
Yeah.
and that was just to have a drink with someone on Zoom.
Yeah, and it's so vital to have those moments. We have a lot of family in Ireland, and we've been watching their WhatsApp messages with amazement because they are really taking it to the next level. Where they're Yesterday was my brother-in-law, hi Shane in Renmore, his birthday, and his wife and kids made this amazing, like, fancy dinner with menus, and they called it the K Club, and it was an incredible, like, a night out that they were sitting in their kitchen. So those people have more energy than I do, but very impressive.
I, I Yeah, I think it's really strange in that sometimes you are seeing these intense bursts of creativity, and quite frequently from people who maybe they don't normally have time in their lives to be creative, and because they're at home now, they feel as if they have to do that.
Yeah, it's nice. I think we've been doing a lot of jigsaw puzzles. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. For the first 2 weeks, I don't know if you can hear, there's an airplane going over. The first 2 weeks, they were just out of school completely. And that was challenging in its own way. But this past week, they started distance learning. Um, and that has been really, I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Every parent is struggling with this right now, but I have a choice each day. Does the 9-year-old get her work done, or do I get mine done? Because there's no way they're both happening. It's a struggle right now, but we're very lucky. We're very fortunate, and I'm trying to keep it positive.
Well, let's talk about the work done already. I can very easily, I'm looking through the comments coming in already. There are lots of people saying they've just started the book. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of people who've already read the book earlier this year and loved it as well. But maybe just briefly for those people who don't know about American Dirt, maybe just give us an example. Tell us a little bit about the book and what it's about.
Yeah, so it's the story of a young mother and her 8-year-old son who have really an act of unspeakable violence that befalls their family on page one. And their lives as they know it are completely demolished in the space of a few minutes. Almost everyone they love in the world is murdered by a cartel, and they have to go on the run. So it's the story of their journey. Um, and really, it was my endeavor to explore, in this moment in our society, globally, really, we're all living in the most uncertain times. And any place feels like a place that could conceivably begin to collapse around you. And so, it's kind of an exploration of how this mother and son just in an instant fall out of their middle class lives and find themselves completely transformed into migrants. And what it is to undertake a journey of that kind of peril and endeavor to try to save your child in circumstances that may be almost impossible to begin to navigate emotionally, never mind physically.
There was a certain amount of controversy around the book at the time. We don't have time tonight by the nature of the program to talk about it, but does that feel like another world now almost? Does it feel, because of the nature of what's happening to everybody around us now, does that feel like a different universe?
It kind of does. I mean, it still sits with me. The controversy was quite heated, it was quite intense, and it was rather unexpected as well. So, unfortunately, it hasn't completely evaporated from me. But when I'm talking to other people, I get the sense very much that, I mean, our priorities globally have shifted so quickly and so dramatically. I don't think people are um, so focused on the central issue of that controversy anymore. It does feel a little distant.
Everybody always has their own individual, though, moments of unhappiness. I'm going to show this to you. I don't know if you can read the script on the screen. This came in the book club today. It's from Siobhan. She says, I was looking forward to reading the book, but I accidentally ordered the Spanish version. Damn
Oh,
it.
she'll just have to learn Spanish. It'll be fine.
And she has plenty of time at the moment, so it's possibly one of those moments when she will get the opportunity to just, because what else are you doing right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to pick 3 books. Again, the criteria for every author is it can be anything that you want, and just books that you think people should be reading at some stage. What have you done for book number 1?
Okay, so this is a book I just finished reading. It's called The Book of Rosie. This is not the cover. This is a proof, so it will be much prettier than this when it's a final version. It's a mother's story of separation at the border. So I read this book immediately after. Actually, I think I began reading it when I was on tour for American Dirt here in the United States. And, I believe it's the first book that was written from the point of view of a mother in detention who was separated from her children in ICE custody. Um, it is harrowing. It is incredibly beautifully written. Um, and I just think it gives another layer to the realities of what people are suffering in this country, in the Americas, really, because of compulsory migration and because of our immigration policy in this country. It's pretty horrific what's going on, and when you get the view of the person who's living it, I just think that's incredibly valuable. And so many people who have read my book have written to me and said, what should I read next? What I want to know more, I want to understand more. They've told me that they begin Googling La Bestia, or beginning to do their own research on how much of my book is based in real research. They want to know more. So I think this is a great place to begin that further reading.
And that's called The Book of Rosie. And who's that by?
The Book of Rosie, it's co-written by Rosaira Pablo Cruz and Julie Schweitert Collazo. So the first half of the book is written in the migrant's point of view, and then the second half of the book is written in the point of view of a mother in New York who is fundraising to post bond for the migrants who are detained in the borderlands.
Okay, we'll put the details of that in comments later on. Ashling Hanley says, hi, your family in Headford are all watching you. It's great to see you.
Hi. Okay, so I have to behave myself because she's got 6 little ones at home. So if they're all watching, I have to be well behaved. Okay.
Moderately speaking. Okay, well, what's book number 2?
Okay, so, all right, which one will I do next? This is kind of funny. So you've been publicly shamed. When I had my bad moment with my little controversy there with the book, a million different people said to me, have you read this? And I had not, and they said it will make you feel better. So I went and got it. I'm not a big nonfiction reader, and I was listening to what you were talking about at the opening of the show about how even for people who are voracious readers right now in this moment, it's quite difficult to sustain your attention span for reading, because of the anxiety we're all experiencing. But this book completely enthralled me. And I found myself reading well beyond the chapters that I had intended to read for the day. It's fascinating, and it really is an exploration of what happens on social media, particularly on Twitter, when someone decides that someone else should be publicly shamed in that forum. And, it's just incredibly interesting. And I think it's an important book right now because we're at this crossroads in our culture. And I think this is a global phenomenon where we have the deterioration of truth. So there is a whole lot of not knowing what to believe, first of all. And then when you combine that on one side with real vitriol on the other side, so you have this like this acceptance that like hatred is a now acceptable way to communicate in a public forum, just to be incredibly hateful. So when you have all that hatred combined with some falsehoods, it's a real recipe for disaster. And the stories in this book are just a real exploration of how things can go so far wrong so quickly, to those people who step out of line, in a way, on Twitter. So really fascinating.
And John Ronson does that extraordinarily well. It's also a great cover. I don't think I've seen that cover. Obviously, it's radically different than the cover on this side of the world, but the cover's super.
Yeah, no, it's
Right.
very well done. And he also manages to make it funny, that was the cathartic part for me, because I was like, it's not all doom and gloom, It's pretty good.
Okay,
So,
that's John Ronson. So you've been publicly shamed. And what have you got for book number 3?
okay, so book number 3 is Ask Again Yes by my friend and neighbor, Mary Beth Keane, fellow Irish American. So this book came out last year in hardcover, and I think her paperback is scheduled to come out any day now, sometime in the next couple of months. It's a beautiful novel. It's Mary Beth is a wonderful writer, and I think this is her best book. I really enjoyed it. It's the story of two families who, um, the son and the daughter, the son of one family and the daughter of the other family fall in love. They live next door to each other, they grow up together, and it's the story of how their families interact with each other, and um, a tragedy occurs within the families, and it's about how these two people navigate that trauma that lasts in their families. And um, one thing I really love about it, it feels super timely to me. Mary Beth grew up in just 5 miles from here in a town called Pearl River, New York, which a lot of your viewers probably know Pearl River because it's entirely Irish, like super, super Irish. And, her dad was a sand hog, and her mom, I think, was a nurse. And so she grew up with real blue collar roots like I did. And what I loved about this novel when I first read it was that it feels almost like, in this moment when our political landscape is incredibly divided, a novel like this feels to me like a bridge. Like she's writing into a community, and for a community that is often, you know, seen as quite unimportant, in certainly
Mhm.
to a more literati kind of community. So there's something really beautiful about elevating that voice and telling the story of how important these people are. And yeah, I just loved it. It's a great book.
Definitely one of the favorites. It was mentioned a number of months ago by a friend of mine, Sinead Moriarty. Hello, Sinead, if you're watching tonight. I know you
That's right.
probably are. We loved it as well, and she went and made a very big deal out of the book as well. So that's
Yeah.
Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. Okay, I have a couple of comments just coming in. Paula O'Sullivan says, heard an interview with Douglas Kennedy online. He raved about this book. And Delaney Crimmins loved the book, was on a journey with them all the way, didn't want it to end. If we went through all the comments from people saying how much they were on journeys and loved the book very much, so that would take up the rest of the amount of time we have together. I know you're outside, and normally what we do is we ask people to show us their bookshelves. But if you were showing us your bookshelves right now, what have you got? What have you got in there normally? What do you keep on your bookshelves?
Oh, they're so overloaded. I mean, Sebastian Barry is one of my favorites. I love Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Louise Erdrich. I haven't read her newest one yet, but she's an incredible writer. I don't know if she has a big following in Ireland. She's a Native American writer. Um, Her book, The Round House, is one of my all-time favorites. And I mean, I have a whole lot of classics on there that I do and don't read. I always have a stack on my nightstand that is this tall, and trying to get through them. And yet I keep buying books. It's a bit of a compulsion, but
That is the problem that we all find ourselves with in life, and it's a cross that we all have to bear. I don't know about
yeah.
you. I've deliberately recently decided to start dividing up the stuff on my bedstand right next to where I'm bed to what I'm reading during the day. So I found I wasn't reading nonfiction very much. So instead, I was taking the kind of longer nonfiction that I thought it would take me a while to get into, and I'm reading
Yeah.
it piece by piece at night before I go to bed, and
Yeah.
I'm making it through stuff. It's well,
There you
prior to
go.
all of this, of course, it was working.
Yeah, I love that. You know, something else we've been doing recently that we didn't do before the quarantine is we're doing a lot of audiobooks together as a family. So I would always do audiobooks like if I was going on a long car journey or something, I would listen. But now that we're all stuck inside together, we're doing jigsaw puzzles and listening to an audiobook. So we just did Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is an incredible book, beautifully narrated by herself. And we did Anne Patchett's The Dutch House, which is a great audiobook. It's narrated by Tom Hanks. And those are both relatively family friendly, I would say. So if you can listen with your 12-year-old and 9-year-old, and it's they might not be fascinated by it, but they will endure it. It's fine.
Yeah, because that could be one of the problems about trying to find something that will keep both your average 9-year-old and your average adult occupied for the length of a book. Yeah, I can see how
Yes.
that would be a problem.
Yes, and also you never know with a great novel what's coming, and you may find yourself leaping for the pause button, like you don't want to hear that part. The 9-year-old doesn't need to hear
We've all
all
been there. Yeah. I'm also getting quite a lot of Loretta Kennedy is on. She says
Oh, hi,
hi.
Loretta.
They all refer to you
Shout
as,
out to Mama Bear Ketchup, by the way. That's her. Loretta is my sister-in-law as well.
and they refer to you as Auntie Tink. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be out in the real world, but there it
It's
is.
fine. It's fine. You can all call me Auntie Tink. It's grand.
I know there had been plans certainly for you to come over to one of the festivals here during the summer, and obviously that's now kind of on hold. So it'll be lovely to see you at some point when you do make it over here for something in the future. Are you working on anything right now, or is just everything is just stopped?
No, it's all stopped. And believe it or not, I have a lot of meetings and interviews still. I can't believe the amount of people who really want to talk about books right now, but it's a wonderful thing. I think books are one of the things that are getting people through this moment. So, what little time I do have to devote to my own work is going to interviews and meetings and stuff like this. But one day I will write another book. One day, hopefully sooner than later. We shall see.
And I'm conscious that you're only using this as an excuse to sit outside and have a drink at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd do the same. I would be exactly the same person. So I'm fine.
Yeah, it's like the moment I've been waiting for the last 3.5 weeks. I was like, when is someone going to give me an excuse to sit on my deck at 3 p.m. with a glass of wine? So thank you for that.
Well, then all I can say is that cheers, Nazdrave. Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. And I'm going to have let's do it for Chin Chin. Jeanine Cummins, author of American Dirt from New York. Thank you very much for coming on the program tonight, Jeanine. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Happy reading.
See you again. Bye-bye. And yeah, that's Jeanine Cummins, which none of you managed to guess, and which I was suitably thrilled by, to be brutally honest with you, because nobody actually managed to figure out who it was, despite the fact that the book is much talked about within the Ricochet Book Club. That is it for tonight. Wednesday and Thursday shows live at 7 in the book club as well. Wednesday and Thursday, where are we going this week? Oh, on Wednesday and Thursday night, both two of Ireland's biggest selling authors ever are on the program Wednesday and Thursday night, and two people who I've both talked to in the real world, and now we get to talk to them where they are. So other than that, have yourself a lovely rest of your evening, and I'll catch you on RTE Gold tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. and we'll see you again Wednesday night. See you then. Take it easy. Good luck.